Carmel Sepuloni.
Mr Speaker, can I just acknowledge the previous speaker, Matt Ducey, and congratulate him again on the birth of his child. We had a discussion about this in Select Committee. The birth of his child came hot on the heels of the Rugby World Cup, and he was weighing up whether to call that child Richie or Dan. My suggestion, he didn't take up, but I think it was a good one. Ma'a Ducey. Would have been great. Mr Speaker, speaking of family, I do want to acknowledge all of the members of Parliament here and all of our families, because we do spend a lot of time away from our families, and regardless on which side of the House we're on, we know that that is the reality of being an MP. And I really want to acknowledge our MPs in the House who over the past year have lost a loved one. And I don't know the details of that for everyone in the House, but I do want to acknowledge on our side Penny Henare for the loss of his father, Mika Whaitiri for the loss of her father, and also David Shearer for the loss of his mother. So I acknowledge that because it's been a very difficult year for many members of Parliament in this House. Mr Speaker, this Christmas we are all going to be looking forward to, and we get to step out of here and we actually get to spend some time with our families for at least a few weeks or a month perhaps. And Mr Speaker, many of us will be standing around that barbecue with our family members, with our friends, and what we will need to do in advance of that, Mr Speaker, is pull together a playlist, and I thought it was only too appropriate to think up a playlist that best reflects the year that we've had. So I'm going to hopefully get from A to Z, Mr Speaker, in this short 5-minute speech. If not, then I'll leave the rest of the letters that I don't get to up to your imagination. But let's start with A. Number one on the playlist, A, let's start with, at our family barbecues, Advance Australia Fair. Because actually, Mr Speaker, this year we've seen the National Government and the Prime Minister roll over for Australia, so I think we're going to be starting all of our barbecues in New Zealand with the song Advance Australia Fair. The second song, Bridge Over Troubled Waters, and that song is dedicated to our Transport Minister, Simon Bridges, for his Pretend Bridges in Northland. The third song, Mr Speaker, is Couldn't Get It Right by the Climate Blues Band, again dedicated to the National Government. And then the fourth song, Didn't We Almost Have It All? And that's what New Zealanders are thinking when they reflect on when they had a National Government for 9 years with what they've got now. The fifth song, Mr Speaker, is Everything's Not Lost by Coldplay, and I'm going to dedicate that to our good friend Sam Lotuienga. And Mr Speaker, the sixth song is Freedom, and that could also go to Sam Lotuienga because at least he's free from the corrections portfolio and having to clean up after Serco. The next song, Guess Who's Back? Who's that dedicated to? Judith Collins. Eminem, Guess Who's Back, dedicated to Judith Collins. The next song may not make sense to a lot of people, but it's Hello by Lionel Richie, because every time I see David Seymour, I still get that image of my head of him jumping out from behind the hedge going, hello, I'm David Seymour, hello, hello, hello. The next song is It's Raining Men, because let's face it, the reality is we still have a shortage of women in this place. And the next one is Jailhouse Rock, which is a memory of Elvis Presley and also of Serco. The next one is Killing Me Softly, because quite frankly, some of the speeches in this House have killed us all softly this year.
Particularly yours.
And the next one is Let It Go. Let It Go, Tim McIndoe. Let It Go. We get to M, and the song is My Little Pony, and of course we're dedicating that to our Prime Minister. And next we have New York, New York. So while we're all standing around our humble batches, or someone else's humble batches, because many of us don't own them, over the break, we'll be thinking of that $11 million apartment in New York. Then we have O, Old MacDonald Have a Farm. So many animals we could throw in on that farm. Sheep, bobby calves. We could put a panda on that farm. Mr Speaker, it's a very diverse farm. The next one is P, Mr Speaker, and I hope this isn't offensive to the Speaker, but the song is Papa Don't Preach by Madonna, dedicated to the Speaker. The next song, starting with Q, is Que Sera, Sera, Whatever Will Be, Will Be. Raindrops keep falling on my head because every time we come to Wellington, that's the kind of weather that we get. I come here with beautifully straightened hair. I leave on a Thursday with hair pulled back like that, ruined by the rain. The next song is 7 Years by Norah Jones. It should have been 7 long years. The next song is Take a Walk on the Wild Side. I couldn't think of anything for tea. Chris Farfoy gave that to me. He said, give that song to Nathan Guy because he needs to liven up a little bit. The next song is Under Pressure by Queen, for all of us. Virtual Insanity, because we have to be insane if we're going to be here. W is Watching You by Adi Jar. Watching You, Judith Collins. 2, John Key, because she knows he's watching her too. X marks the spot by Coldplay. We will be back here on February the 9th. Why? And we have to dedicate this song to the flag referendum, and that song is You're So Vain, dedicated to the Vanity Project. And finally, I will end with Zombie by the Cranberries, because that's how we are all feeling at this point in time. So I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. We'll see you all back here in the new year. Stay out of trouble, because the media have a shortage of stories over the break, and you will inevitably end up in the media if you get in trouble. Thank you.